Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Tami Bohannon. I am the CEO, or as I like to call myself, the Servant-in-Chief at Foundation for Senior Living. We've shortened our name to FSL over the years because since our founding, we have really expanded our programs to serve more than just an aging population. And I see that one of FSL's board members, Tom Kelly, has joined the session. So Tom, feel free to chime in at any time. I apologize in advance for the slide share, the screen that I have up. My computer's being wonky, and if I do the full screen, it won't let me move stuff forward. So apologize for the small notes. I know Amy has the PDF, so you'll be getting this. So a little bit about FSL. Our mission since our founding in 1974 has really to provide home and community-based services and develop energy-efficient, affordable housing to promote health, independence, and dignity for all. So as I said earlier, that Tom's build out of it, hashtag build out of it, is perfect for FSL because our vision is to have a caring community that promotes the health and well-being of all. And we really see that as a nonprofit developer and provider of affordable rents and mortgages, that we're playing our part in that. So again, we're a nonprofit organization. We have 27 different programs, and we cover 4 different focus areas. We provide safe homes, nutritious meals, health and wellness, and caregiver support. And really, all of those, each of those 4 pillars impact our work in providing affordable rents and mortgages. My next slide really helps us dive into that team concept that I hope to share with you. So as I mentioned, I lead FSL. I am not day in and into the weeds in our real estate services program. I'll talk a little bit about that team next. I work with our board of directors who have the enduring vision for our organization. And to me, that is such a key piece of your team when you're wanting to be in the space of providing affordable rents and mortgages. So they set the enduring vision. And since 1974, our board has been extremely supportive of our work in this space. And then we've got a senior leadership team, and they manage the risk and continuity to make sure that we can stay in this space, and that the board has set it as a priority, and we bring that vision to life. This is the heart of our team. It's our real estate leadership team here at FSL, and I just put the names up here and in your slide. In case anybody in this breakout would want to learn more. Steve Hastings has been doing this work for over 20 years, and the last 20 with FSL. He is an amazing, compassionate individual with a servant's heart that knows the work of the rural developments, HUD developments, the low-income housing tax credit developments inside and out. You heard Suzanne use the word stacking. Steve is a master of stacking. And then other members of the team, John Bearclaw manages our portfolio, all of our 25 properties right now, and he's always looking for new properties. We work 5 years ahead, and I'll be talking a little bit about that. Carolyn Campbell is our housing director. In addition to being the developer and the nonprofit organization, we are the property manager of 80% of our properties, and Carolyn and her property management team work with residents. And then Krista Schwartz is our single family homes director. FSL got into not just providing affordable rents, but affordable mortgages, and Joe Barbieri is our general contractor. This slide here gives you an idea of the safe and attainable housing that FSL operates throughout the state. I know it's a tiny map, but you can hopefully refer it when you receive the PDF from Meg. We have 25 multifamily communities. We have 286 single-family homes that were built or rehabbed. So in 2007, at the downturn of the economy, we worked with neighborhood stabilization in the city of Phoenix and rehabbed 150 homes that were then sold with affordable mortgages. And then in 2012, 2016, I think we sold the last home. We built a brand new development of 132 homes with affordable mortgages in South Phoenix Village. And we have multiple teams here, but it was very important for us to work with a variety of banking institutions were on our team, so they could provide a lot of assistance to these first-time home buyers. And this is an important program for FSL because we really believe that there's a way to break the cycle of poverty with home ownership. And then we also, part of our safe and attainable housing pillar is our home improvements program. So FSL has long been involved in energy efficiency and weatherization, and primarily with low-income homes. And we're big believers that when you have an energy efficient home, you've got more money to spend on groceries, on medical bills, on prescriptions, just to wrap your arms and take care of your family. So that's a little bit of background information on FSL. I'm going to jump into some of our projects and then how they've been funded and what the team looks like to get that funding. And along the way, if anybody has any questions, just pop them into the chat or raise your hand. In the last breakout session, we had some really good conversation from folks who are interested in getting into providing housing with affordable rents and mortgages. So these are a couple of our 62 plus communities that we've built over the years, and just wanted you to see just how beautiful that they are. They are safe, affordable, they're energy efficient, and they're beautiful. We are a faith-based organization, and we really believe in upholding the dignity and respect of all of those that we serve, and that Tom talked a little bit about the stigma of someone that lives in affordable housing and how that contributed to NIMBYism. And we've really worked hard to build beautiful properties so people don't have that stigma. So we also offer housing with subsidized rents. So these are our properties in Lake Havasu, Kingman, and Payson, Pineview Manor in Payson. And then I shared a little bit about our single family homes program. We built the 150 scattered sites across the city of Phoenix with neighborhood stabilization dollars, and then built this community in South Phoenix Village. It's a beautiful community, and really worked with a team of banking institutions to provide down payment and closing costs for homeowners who qualified, so they can own that first home and work towards breaking the cycle of poverty. We are also big on green multifamily housing. So you can see Flagstaff. In this picture you can see some of the solar panels. That isn't a big part of funding, but we do have a corporation at FSL that sells energy from our solar panels. We put solar panels on all the properties that we can, or batteries. You can see these Tesla batteries at 29 Palms, and South Phoenix Village homes all have a very high HERS rating. So when we can, we build all of our buildings are LEED Gold. Actually, they all are LEED Gold. When we can, we apply for that rating, but it's very expensive to do that. So we don't always apply to get that rating. And all of our single family homes have a HERS rating of 50 or less. And you can see there, a typical existing home is closer to 140. And the lower that HERS rating, just the better, the more energy efficient that home is. That again adds to affordability. And then just a few more. This is Acacia Heights. It is our newest low-income housing tax credit program that opened in 2021, and is a 62 plus community. And then Spectrum Courtyard, which is kind of in north central Phoenix, a beautiful one-story site. But again, beautiful properties that offer affordable rents. This is kind of a capsulation of what we have. So we're in urban and rural locations across the state. We have 981 units across 25 communities. We primarily serve older adults and adults with disabilities. Income restrictions do apply in our projects, and they are studio 1 and 2 bedroom units. And part of the philosophy of FSL is that all of the utilities are included on our properties. We truly want to make sure the folks that come live with us, who are all on limited and fixed incomes, do not fall into homelessness or back into homelessness. So we do everything we can to keep them affordable. So I'm going to pause there and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, so an important part of the team, I've talked about the board and the leadership. So for me, I've worked in 2 different type of team models. So FSL is the nonprofit organization and the developer. We develop our properties. When I was at Catholic Charities, we worked with outside developers. So we had a third-party developer on our team, and we delivered the services. We also worked with an outside property management firm. But Catholic Charities received developer fees, and then they received, you'll hear later on, first right of refusal to buy the property for existing mortgage at the end of the life of the LIHTC award. So this is, I'll dive into funding now. So this is the Marist on Cathedral Square in Tucson. This was built with a LIHTC award in 2017. And you heard Suzanne talk about stacking, that these projects are complex and they require a great deal of funding. So you can see here the LIHTC award was just about $21 million. We had to get some additional funding to fill that gap. So we worked with the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, their affordable housing program, and we wrote a grant for almost $2 million. We received some GO bonds for $605,000, and those are forgivable bonds that we applied for. This Rio Nuevo TIF was a small section of the property that we sold for utility right of way. There's the city sales tax exemption, and then there's a mortgage debt of $1 million. So that's how we package the funding together to build this 5-story, 82 units. And it's actually 2 different parcels. So it's this beautiful 5-story unit here, and then catty corner from it is we rehab this old college, and there's 16 units here, but they share community space, and they are one community. But that's what we did with that LIHTC award. So we talk about a team approach to funding. As CEO, I'm not in the weeds day to day. My job is to support the real estate team, and I'm always asking Steve, how do I support you? And he knows I'm a relationship builder because in my past, I'm a fundraiser. You can't get that out of your blood, and that's all about building relationships. So it's building relationships with folks so you know what opportunities are out there and when they are to enhance and add to any type of low-income housing tax credit applications that you make. And it's also part of the relationship building, or the way I support the real estate team is Steve tells me he needs patient buyers. So for instance, there's some land up in Bullhead City that we know is for sale, but we plan 5 years in advance. So this was our 2017 application. We have projects planned 5 years in advance. So say Bullhead City is 7 years from now or 6 years from now. We know that's when we want to submit that project for a LIHTC award. But we want this land to be there. So a patient buyer would be someone who would say, sure, you can pay me $50,000 a year. And then when you get the LIHTC award, you can pay off the property. So looking for a patient seller for land, or better yet, someone that would donate land to you, but in all reality, in my past experience, when someone's donated land, that hasn't always been able to pencil out as well. So that's our Maristone Cathedral Square and a little bit of background. Does anybody have any questions on that funding and how that all works? Okay, I'm going to share with you, this is an older low-income housing tax credit program, and I wanted to share a little bit about Flagstaff so you could see the beauty of this community that offers affordable rent. And you can see it has a wait list of over 440 households. Yes, we know that survey. I'm glad the people in Flagstaff did say they did need more housing that was affordable. This was funded. You can see the LIHTC award in 2010 and how the costs have gone up. It was almost $9 million. And we also applied and got a federal home loan bank grant of $1 million. So you don't pay that back. That goes to your project. You don't pay that back. We had some owner equity of almost $600,000. So that's how we put together this property. And you can see it's the Flagstaff vibe. This is housing that offers affordable rent. And I think it would be hard for someone to be not in my backyard when they look at something like this. Again, we want to build something that's beautiful and helps uphold people's dignity and respect. So some outside space, and then this is what the inside looks like of this apartment community that offers affordable rent. You also heard Tom talk about the needs in rural Arizona for affordable rents and mortgages. This is Highland Square in Cottonwood. This was also a 2017 award. It was a rural award. And this is how we put this one together. So the LIHTC award, this is a smaller community. I believe there are 32 units in Highland Square. So the LIHTC award was a little over $7 million. We received from some Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago Affordable Housing Fund. That was a grant that's not paid back. We got some USDA Rural Development funding, that $1 million that you don't pay that back. Then we had USDA subsidies, the LIHTC award, and then a home award of $750,000. So that, again, some funding that we put together to make that property real. So in the last session, we had some questions about rents and low-income housing tax credit funding, and how you build for people who have no income or limited income. So again, I think the low-income housing tax credit funding program was built on the premise that your residents have income and they pay rent. So I've got a slide in a little bit that I'll show you the different rents for people depending on their area median income. But this is just a little bit, kind of a simple bit about low-income housing tax credit. I will put in the chat one of my favorite books. You can't really see it because I'm on blur, but it's a little yellow book. It's by Novogradac. It's an introduction to low-income housing tax credit. It's the 6th edition. It's kind of like you saw those books in the 80s and 90s, like Writing for Dummies or Excel for Dummies. This is a great, it's a primer on low-income housing tax credits for people who don't live and breathe this. So it's really good information. So I'll pop that in the chat. But it was created as a program incentive for developers to produce affordable housing. And credits are allocated by the state. Each state allocates them. We receive, I think this is an average number, we receive enough credit for 16 projects per year. The State Housing Authority administers the federal dollars, and the programs are guided by this published qualified allocation plan. You'll hear a lot of people refer to it as a QAP. and that's adjusted each year. And what's in the QAP helps you form your project and your application. And I think this year there were over 30 applications. Not all of them will get funded. You see, we fund about 16 projects a year, and they're funded based on the points your agency scores. And you get points for the populations you serve. Is it rural? Is it near public transportation? What kind of services do you provide? So there's a variety of things that go into that QAP. And, you know, as we know, we have a very large population that's experiencing homelessness. So how do we move people from homelessness into this housing with affordable rents and mortgages? So this is what the cycle looks like for the LIHTC awards each year. What it looks like at FSL, we begin planning. We land on the development that we're going to put forward. We do that in August or September. The draft allocation plan, that QAP, is put out, and the final is put out in December. That informs us of, you know, how we would score those points and what the state is focusing on. Applications are typically due April 1st, and you hear about your awards in June. And once you hear about, during this time for FSL, we've decided on a program. We know what we're doing. This year we've submitted a project in Flagstaff that we've submitted in the past, and we've worked. We know the low-income housing tax credit award is not going to fund the whole project, so we've been working on getting that gap funding of what that looks like. So if we get that low-income housing tax credit, we've got those funds so we can start that project, because there's 18 months from once those awards are granted to when you need to be complete. This is a typical legal structure for a direct investment in LIHTC, in a LIHTC funded project. Again, there's a project developer, the general partner in the project, so FSL, that's FSL's role. There's also the opportunity for nonprofits to work with third-party developers. The State Housing Agency allocates the LIHTC, and then the general partner or managing member, and there's limited partner or members. And those limited partner or members, that 99%, that's the LIHTC investor. So they buy the credits, if you will. They have a tax liability. They get those tax credits. So they're a limited partner or member in your organization. So again, there's multiple team members for LIHTC. This gives you an idea of the limits. These are the 2022 income limits. So you can see this is Maricopa and Pinal County. And the way you make these projects work is if you have a 78 unit community, maybe you have 10 units that are people who are 20% of median income, another 30 units that are 30%. So you work, your team pencils that out because your rents are what, you know, go back to the investors and help pay down the cost of the project. And you want to get that down because at the end of 15 years, at the end of that qualified period, you've put yourself in a position to have first right of refusal to buy this property for remaining debt. And then as in FSL's case, we would continue to run it as a community that offers affordable rent, but you don't have the compliance issues that you have for the first 15 years of that LIHTC award. But you can see the difference. If you rent a 1-bedroom apartment and you're at 60% of median income, it's $994 for rent. If you're at 20%, it's $331 for your rent. So that's, I would call that an affordable rent. I talked a little bit about that compliance issues. So tax credits are earned over an initial 15-year compliance period. and that's how long your investors, those limited partners, are involved. You can have accelerated tax credits claimed over 10 years. Investors are really attracted to that, and then they exit in year 10 before the end of the compliance period. And then there's an extended use period. It requires you to continue to adhere to the LIHTC rules for at least 15 years beyond the end of that initial compliance period, so 30 years. And you score more points in your application when you agree to that extended use period. So I talked a little bit about compliance and the legalities, and it's really important to have on your team for funding someone who really understands legal language and will be your advocate, because you want to make sure all of your agreements put you in position for this, that you have the first, as that general managing partner, you have the first right of refusal for the property at the end of that compliance period, that there's a buyout option to purchase your investors' partnership interest at any time. I think after that 10-year period, that there's a put option, and that's an obligation to purchase the investors' interest. And all these are in your favor. These partnership agreements are in your favor and really line you up so that you own that property at the end of the compliance period. So I can't emphasize enough, besides having a really great team or person to help you with your application and create what that housing community is going to look like and pencil out, is to have a really great legal mind on your team to help you create that partnership agreement that is going to really protect you as a nonprofit organization, if you're a nonprofit developer or a nonprofit general partner. I'm kind of speaking from that world, because that's my experience. The last little bit here is that I wanted to share was about, I asked Steve, okay, what are your dreams? What are your hopes and dreams? And, he would love it to see an expansion of the 9% low-income housing tax credit program and to increase that credit value. So right now, someone who has a tax liability gets a tax credit, and that tax credit, that one tax credit turns into X number of dollars, and it changes during the year. It funds about 90% of your project. That's what 9% LIHTC program is intended to do. And we want to see that expand. We want more of those opportunities, because we all know there's more housing that we need to build. And then we want to increase that credit value. So we've all seen construction costs go up, and we'd like to. You saw a couple of those examples. The stacking of the funding is a complex proposition. So the more credits there are, I guess the less stacking, but I think there's always stacking that will have to be done. And then to improve the 4% LIHTC program, how could we improve it? Could it grow more than 4%? 4% covers about 40% of your project. And then some expansion of this guarantee program, and then infrastructure and new federal funding for housing. LIHTC is great, but you saw we're going to probably have 16 projects funded this year, and we need so many more. Maybe it's 1,000 units, 2,000 units a year, and we're short almost 300,000 units. And then Steve is a big advocate of more state funding, like housing trust funds. So that's a little bit about the team it takes, from someone who is the perspective of not in the day-to-day weeds. So if people are interested in getting into this and they're not necessarily in the day-to-day weeds, how to build that team to get involved in building housing that has affordable rent or mortgages. And I'm happy to take any questions that people have. or answer questions in the chat, or if you want to go off unmute, or I'll type in the chat the name of this little booklet. And Amy, I'll get some information on it and share it with you too.
Oh,
somebody
great. Thank
got
you.
on and looked and they said it's $935. I'm like, I didn't pay $900
Oh.
for that booklet. So
The library.
we'll figure, yeah, we'll figure that out. I do want to share too, as you get into this, there's a lot of, I talked about the patient seller.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other team members that are outside that you can collaborate with. So there's pre-development funds that are available, excuse me, that are available through Arizona Community Foundation, because it costs money before you ever launch the project. You know, you've got to get architectural drawings and renderings and plan stuff out. You may have to put a down payment on some land. So there's some pre-development costs that you have to fund. And Arizona Community Foundation has, I believe it's a zero interest grant or loan program to get that pre-development fund. Here at FSL, because we've been doing this over the years, we created our own pre-development fund and had it funded by a private foundation. So right now it sits at $1 million, and we spend that money. And then when we get the LIHTC award and get paid back, get some development fees, we replenish that pre-development fund. So it's kind of like an internal revolving pre-development fund. And we're looking at, what do we really need? How much should that be? So Steve has said, I'd like that to be $5 million. So we're working on getting some private foundations to help us create that pre-development fund. And, you know, that may be unique to FSL. Other organizations may have that, but it's pretty key to have that, so you can plan, right? The other thing I wanted to share was your team really can be as large as you'd like it. And when I say that, it's all about collaboration. So we have 5 years of projects in the pipeline at any given time. And we meet with people all the time who, right now there's a huge push. You heard about it, Suzanne talked about it, and there was an article in the morning chat about workforce housing on school sites. So we're in conversation about how could FSL be the developer for a project on a school site. So that if you're an organization that you don't want to be a developer, but you want to work with a developer, there's a variety of nonprofit organizations or associations, or even federally qualified health centers that have dollars that maybe that collaboration, you come together and it just makes you stronger to get all that funding that you need. So with that, I could keep talking. I know we've got 10 minutes. So if there's anybody that has any questions, Tom, I see you. I don't see you, but I see your picture. So Tom Kelly is a retired healthcare executive who has a huge passion for affordable housing and is on the FSL board. So Tom, if you're there and you want to add anything, I welcome your comments, because I know you're passionate about this.
Yeah, I'll just say I thought great presentation, and I think the big issue is basically how to quadruple the amount of funding we have available. So,
yeah, we have to be loud, loud and advocate. So, thank you for that. Thanks for all you do.
it's a job worth doing. So,
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Amy, I don't know if you have any questions or if anybody else has any questions.
That was great. Thank you, Tami. For the participants in the workshop, do you have any questions for Tami or for Tom? Questions, input, anything from your own perspective that you might like to share? So I do have a question, Tami, for you. So we heard in another workshop that it's really about the relationships. Can you talk a little bit about how you develop good relationships with your funders and what that looks like, how long it takes to cultivate, kind of the care and feeding around that, please?
Sure. You know, I think the key to any good relationship is to stay in communication and never, you know, never surprise anybody. Be transparent, and don't surprise them. So keep people informed. I know we have a great relationship with the federal home loan banks. They're in a couple different spaces, and I think Steve has served on the board of the San Francisco one. So when you get opportunities like that to serve on boards and nurture relationships, that's a good thing to do. But we keep them informed. Like if we win credits and we've got the gap funding, but for some reason the project stalls, we immediately go to all those folks who have helped us with that funding, so we get to what we need, and we let them know we're stalled and can we continue. I think it's just being transparent and constant, continuous, timely communication.
Mm-hmm.
And getting involved. I think I love the fact of how many people responded to this, Amy, and how many people are on the call today. We know there's a need for it. So I think it's continuing to talk about it and, you know, find your niche, find folks who have, you know, there's people who want housing for people experiencing homelessness, and what's the case management and what does that look like, versus Terry Ehrman was on the earlier session. What does housing with affordable rents look like for veterans? Because he's having a really tough time getting landlords to accept HUD-VASH vouchers. So again, for relationship building, it's really communication is the underpinning of it. Make sure you're not just going to them if there's a change, but keeping them informed. This is what we're doing. You know, inviting them so you can see. We had a open house for stakeholders of FSL at our Acacia Heights community in October, and we invited a lot of banking institutions who help fund our all the home ownership assistance for our single family housing. So it's important for them. They know about that program, but it's important to build trust and credibility and have them see the other things that you're doing in that space of providing affordable rents and mortgages.
Excellent. Thank you, Tami. We do have a question from the chat. This is from Cheryl. Hi, Tami, great presentation. Where is a potential school project location?
I think they're in a variety. There were several different school sites that were paired with developers, and Steve was paired with Alhambra School District. Our FSL was paired with Alhambra School District. So that's the one that I'm familiar with.
Thank you. Thank you. I think if you go to the Vilas website or contact Suzanne Feaster, she might have more information on the other schools. But it's great to hear that you're connected with that particular one. Other questions?
Yeah, Amy, this is Pat McMurray-Lisk.
Yes.
This isn't exactly apropos, but something to keep in mind. We've been discussing how to build and develop new units, but there are thousands of units that are falling off the rolls every year. So what, having that preservation strategy in mind is just as important.
Point well stated, Patrick. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. It's not just about developing new units of housing that have affordable rents and mortgages, but it's about retaining the ones that currently exist. So really critical point. Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's calling attention. It's doing what you're doing, Amy, and what this collaborative is doing is calling attention to the need for that and making sure the folks who are entering the space and applying for low-income housing tax credit projects have that in mind. I mean, that's what FSL is committed to. We have no intention of getting to that end of that 30-year period. And I don't think this crisis is going to be gone in 30 years. we serve an aging population. That population is growing. The silver tsunami is upon us. In 2030, it hits. Every baby boomer will be over the age of 65. People are living longer. We're starting to get to a group of people who don't have the retirement and pensions that our parents had. So this need for affordable rents and mortgage is going to be greater than ever. So I think that's part of the improving the program and expansion of the program, the hopes and dreams Steve has, is the people who win these awards are developers who are going to keep things affordable. So that was a great point, Patrick.
Absolutely. And just to make sure that everyone knows about Threshold, the program that's a partnership between Maricopa County and Home Inc. Fantastic program that seeks to attract and retain landlords that provide affordable rent. So really important program. And a lot of what they do is helping to keep that landlord whole. So if there is damage, then there are funds available to cover those damages. If the unit is vacant because they're between tenants, then there are funds to keep that landlord whole and to pay for that rent. So really good work that's underway, and it was initially funded with COVID dollars, and hopefully that can continue long term. Other questions, other comments, other resources, insights, advice?
I'm typing this little primer into the chat. It's novoco.com. Novogradac is they do a lot of education around affordable housing and low-income housing tax credit. So I'm popping that in, and I'll get the information. I know that we did not pay $900 for that book, so.
No, that sounds great. Thank you, Tami. Thank you.